What's up, guys? Welcome back to Athletes Wire. This is Gary Sheffield Jr. I've got Trent Goodrich sitting across the table from me. If you guys can do us a big favor and hit that big subscribe button on the bottom right, we would greatly appreciate that. Now, we're going to be talking today about Manny Machado, the signing finally. We're going to talk about the Padres, and the Red Sox owner spoke about players spending, the ownership spending. So that's going to be my favorite thing about today. And we have Bryce Harper in a mystery team, in a team that he actually spoke to Boris and said that he had another team of interest, but maybe they are not in on it. So let's find out. So Manny Machado, Trent, what in the world is Manny Machado doing? We know he wanted to go to the Yankees. Why is he going to the Padres?
Well, he just found a way to make the most guaranteed money that he possibly could. His deal, 10 years, $300 million, is the biggest guaranteed American free agent deal ever across any sport. Compared to Giancarlo's extension, it has a little less guaranteed money. Giancarlo's at 13-year, $325 million, but that was an extension, not a free agent deal. So
right, but what's the point of him coming out and saying he wants to be a Yankee? What are the chances really that he's going to say, I want to be a Yankee, and then the Yankees are going to turn around and be the highest bidder? Why would they do that? Like, ever?
I think the issue is that maybe they didn't understand the market. Maybe they didn't understand that making those comments would hurt his ability to get more money out of the Yankees.
It looks like they're trying to turn the fans against the owners in that, like, by saying that. Like, I want to be a Yankee, but you've got to put the money forward.
Yeah, it definitely could have something to do with that. If he wanted to be a Yankee, but then in the end, it definitely looks like he was most worried about making the most guaranteed money that he could. And that shows through the Chicago White Sox offer that came out, which is a better situation competitively than the Padres are. The White Sox offered him an 8-year, $250 million deal, reportedly, that had incentives up to $350 million. And so really, if you want to be competitive and you want to compete for championships, well, the White Sox look like a team that's ready to start competing within the next year or two, and signing that 8-year deal would give him the ability to compete in that way.
Right, so everything I'm hearing is that Manny Machado just confirmed everything we thought about him.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. It looks like he's avoiding more competitive destinations like New York and Chicago for a place
where all the pressure is.
Yeah, exactly. You're avoiding the pressure.
Hey, at least it's 70.
Yeah, you'll head down to San Diego. It's going to be a great lifestyle.
He'll
have a lot of fans who show up to the park and want to see him play, and he'll be out of the national spotlight for most of the season. I mean, that was something that I thought about as soon as it happened, is we're not going to hear from him until he wants out of it, or they're deciding to salary dump him because they don't want to pay for him anymore, similar to what the Marlins had with Giancarlo.
Right, so you think this is going to work? So let's just say that Tatis works out. He turns into a star. Let's say we've got a Manny Ramirez on our hands, right? Or a Hanley Ramirez, a stud. Are the Padres going to push that salary up and get more competitive, 160, 170 million? They just broke a record at 110, which is surprising to me. Obviously, I was shocked about that. 110 is not a very high number. The tax is over another 100 million away from that number. Are the Padres really, in 3 years, if they're not competing, what's the role of Manny Machado? Is he just going to be another chip to really just rekindle your farm system?
Yeah, I think it really depends on how the Padres' young pieces tend to work out. And that's something that the younger guys who are up in the major leagues right now haven't necessarily proven that they're going to be those lasting players in the major leagues.
Right.
And the guys who are long-term deals, who are more expensive, like Will Myers and Eric Hosmer, those aren't the type of guys that are going to drive teams towards championships as much.
No, not at all.
No, they're getting paid high contracts to be essentially role players on the team.
Well, they're putting they're players that are not going to drive winning, but at the same time, they're going to make the team competitive, and they're going to put butts in the seats. And to be honest with you, that just seems like that's all they care about. And if you can make money, the owners seem like in the best position right now. You can spend about $100 million and be competitive. You have a good farm, and then that'll be it. You don't really need to win.
Yeah, I think the Padres. I do give the Padres credit for going out and spending on Machado, because that is a big step to say, you know what, we are going to make this commitment of 10 years, $300 million. That is a big commitment by the Padres. But at the same time, now the Padres are really hoping that their draft picks from being a bad team,
they have to pan out.
They
really
need to work out, and they need to make certain trades because they do have some young arms within their organization that
they should be making trades.
They can
soon.
make moves to get starting pitching and to get other pieces that can contribute. If everything goes perfectly, there's definitely a chance the Padres are very competitive in the NL West, and they probably will need to up their spending as it goes into the future. They'll have to make a little bit more of a financial commitment, which it remains to be seen whether they'll do that. But I would say the more likely scenario is what happened when the last time that they spent big and then it wasn't working out. They had Justin Upton, they had Craig Kimbrell, and at that point they dumped everybody and went back into rebuild mode.
They made it like, hey fans, see what happens when you spend money.
Yeah, that was exactly.
That's what it was.
Exactly.
It made it seem, and these were guys who were good later on. As soon as they left, they were actually good players, and it was almost like just because you spend money, you can't. It doesn't mean you're gonna win. But really, they weren't spending that much money. They just set a record for 110. It's not like they were blowing the bank.
Yeah, they're still well below league average.
Right.
For this year, based on salary, league average is at $125 million currently. That'll jump up a little bit later on once all the free agents end up being signed, but in the end, it's still not a ton of money in the scheme of things within baseball.
Right. So even though Manny Machado got this contract and it was seen as a success for the players, Red Sox owner still came out and he was saying that teams they should be paying more money because they should say that if someone gets hurt, if somebody is in free agency and we're a good team, we can turn ourselves into a great team addressing something in free agency, and they're not doing that. And obviously they're spending money. They'll do it every year. They spent money last year. Everybody said they shouldn't sign JD Martinez. They were bidding against themselves. And he's saying that it makes it easier to compete when you simply spend money. So what is really in store for the other owners now that he's speaking out?
Oh, it definitely goes against the trend of what is going on in the league. The rest of the league is trying to limit their spending still.
Right.
Now other teams are jumping up, like the Padres have jumped up.
And we've got Manfred doing the same thing.
Yeah, but he's actually speaking out against the line of comment that his own commissioner is coming out with. Manfred has come out and said that money spent doesn't equate a team's effort into winning.
Of course it does.
Yeah, there certainly... You can be trying to win with paying this mid-level money, but you're not doing everything you can to win.
Right.
And that matters. There can be intention to still want to win, but it's still difficult to respect a team that says, yeah, we want to win, but we're not going to do everything we can to win.
Right.
Versus the Red Sox, who are doing everything they can to win every year.
Right. And you said a couple days ago, Rob Manfred, he's representing the owners. He's not going to come out, guys, and say they should be spending a lot of money. He's not going to rep. The owners are going to be pissed if he comes out and says, these guys have got to be spending money. They're like, well, hold on. We're making money. We don't need you coming to us and telling us how to spend our money. They're not going to want a commissioner in there that's not going to take a shot for him.
Yeah, exactly. His job is not to advocate for players to get paid on the free agent market. That's not his job. That's Tony Clark's job as the players union rep. Rob Manfred's job is to represent the owners and to present their side of the story that, hey, there's this luxury tax that we don't want to go over because it penalizes us and it gives money to other teams when we go over that luxury tax. So it's better for us to stay under that, to maintain our spending where it is, to remain competitive while not spending too much money and getting penalties.
Right. So keeping this in mind, everybody in the audience here, we're in Arizona right now. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are in a market that is really, they should be right about in the middle of the pack, but aren't we the fifth biggest city in the country, I believe?
Yeah, fifth biggest city in the country, but there is some things with the regional TV market.
Right. And a lot of transplants. Exactly. They're not diehard Diamondbacks fans, but they would be if they were winning. So that brings me to our next topic. Bryce Harper, came out to Scott Boras and said, you know who I was actually looking at, but they seemingly went in a different direction, was the Arizona Diamondbacks, because due to the proximity of Las Vegas, I was looking at their team. I thought it was a great place to raise a family, and obviously Scottsdale is great. I mean, it snowed today, but it's still great. And the Diamondbacks, all they had to do was, I mean, they could have dumped Zach Greinke. He doesn't need to be making $34 million playing for this team. He can go play somewhere else. You can eat some of that salary, but spend the money. Wouldn't Bryce Harper and Paul Goldschmidt, how would they not sell out? Because when we go to Diamondbacks games, they're basically paying me to go in the stadium. It's $5. But if Bryce Harper was there, I would go to every game, or at least try to. And there's no reason. I'm not going to get excited about prospects. I'm not going to be excited about a rebuild. Why in the world would the Diamondbacks not feel compelled to sign a player who's going to be in his prime for the next 8 years?
Yeah, I think that's a difficult thing to wrestle with if you're a Diamondbacks fan. You hear those comments that came from Bryce Harper, and you have to wonder, what are we doing? What is even going on here? Because maybe it would be difficult to move Greinke's contract, but you could almost certainly find someone to take him on who wants to remain competitive or wants to boost their starting rotation and has some money to spend. And then all of a sudden you free yourself up to bring in Bryce Harper. And we've talked about this before, that we value position players over starting pitchers every time. They're almost across the board. Now there's a couple guys where they're very dominant, like Jacob deGrom, where maybe he becomes very worth it to have.
Right. It reminds me of when they were trying to trade Mookie Betts for Harvey a long time ago when he was a prospect. And they were saying, well, hold on, we've got Harvey. No, you don't, because you're one injury away from being obsolete. Like, you need to be signing. There's no team that doesn't win when they've got position players stacked around the lineup. It's really, the pitchers are so fickle. Like, they're gone in 2 to 3 years. Like Jacob deGrom can be average in 2 to 3 years. You have no clue. So you really have to put a lot of emphasis on your position players.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's something that you have to build your team around, is that if you look at the best teams in the league who are winning the most often, the Red Sox are out there with Betts and JD Martinez and Benintendi, and they're loaded on the position player side. They also have great pitching, but you can get that through trades. And
sometimes it's average. Like the Red Sox bullpen heading into the playoffs was average.
Yeah.
And they outperformed what we expected, and all of a sudden they were dominant.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Cubs were the same way, that they have all these great position players, and then we put together our pitching through other means, and then we're winning a World Series. So I think that's something that is important to keep in mind when you're running a team. And then also, for any team, Harper's impact off the field is tremendous for your organization.
I'm buying a jersey.
Yeah.
I'm 25 years old. I'm a grown man. You look dumb wearing a jersey as a grown man. I would wear his jersey. Whatever team, as long as he wasn't playing for like the Padres, I would buy the jersey. So I can't see, there's obviously a value just to have him on your team. It doesn't even matter what you're doing. If you're winning, if you suck. It's a great thing to have Bryce Harper playing for your team. He made me watch the Nationals when I never would have watched them. Even though they were winning, I wouldn't watch the Nationals.
Never.
So it just seems important that marketability in a player is also what you're paying for. So we should not be defending people for basically pinching pennies when they can throw basically any dollar amount towards these guys, and they just choose not to.
Yeah, I believe the correct answer to team that you would not buy their jersey with a Bryce Harper name on it is the Rays.
Yeah, the Rays.
That is the team.
Because when he passed their entire salary for their entire roster,
he nearly would pass their entire salary.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
But I think that's just really important for fans to remember, is that the owners don't want to tell you about the economic impact that a single player like that can have, like a Mike Trout, like a Bryce Harper, where their marketability is so great. And if you get them in a big market where there are a lot of people, all of a sudden you're selling jersey, you're selling tickets, and then all of your revenues are going to increase.
I know, what a travesty for the fans to get smart, right?
Yeah, that's really, they want to keep you dumbed down as much as possible.
And there's so many fans sitting here defending a dude making $1 billion in revenue. In actual, they're making $1 billion in revenue, spending $200 million, and then being defended by people buying the tickets. How does that make any sense? Spend the money. If you get taxed, we're not asking you to pay $300 million. But if you're spending $240 and you're the Yankees, are you kidding me?
Yeah, the Yankees have all this incredible revenue growth that they're experiencing, and then they're going to come out and say that they don't want to bring in Bryce Harper because it's just too expensive to do so. And then, I mean, there's a lot of teams that are making that comment, and then they're doing things that don't necessarily make sense along those lines either. I mean, look at a team like the Braves, who would have been a perfect fit for Bryce Harper. They had a hole in right field at the beginning of this offseason because Nick Markakis.
But don't worry, guys. They got Nick Markakis. Yeah, it won't be a problem.
They got him cheap, which is great. But they had a hole in right field that would have completed their outfield of Acuna, Inciarte, and then Bryce Harper.
Right.
And it's not like they didn't have the money to spend. They all of a sudden decided that they wanted to bring in Josh Donaldson for $20 million. And, well, let's say you don't sign Josh Donaldson. You keep Camargo at third base. And then also you have a prospect in Austin Riley.
In line,
up. Yeah, he's coming up to play third base here in the next couple of years.
Right.
Well, how about we don't sign Josh Donaldson to come in, and then you should pay an extra $10 million and bring in Bryce Harper, or even if it's
that would just make the team too much money. So there's really no point, and it sets too much of an example of how we should operate in the future, because every time someone hits free agency market, you're gonna want to spend. They're going to feel like the fans demand them to spend every year. That's what they're afraid of. The second they spend and something good happens, God forbid, now you're in trouble, because when Bryce Harper hits the market, all 30 teams should be looking to spend, but they're not. And that's disappointing.
Yeah, let's pivot here real quick and go to what is actually going on with Bryce Harper instead of what we think should happen. What we think should happen with him. So recently, it looks like it's coming down to the Phillies, Giants, or potentially the Padres, who will be looking at signing Bryce Harper.
Woo.
It seems likely that the Phillies are the destination, because they were the team that came out and said they wanted to spend stupid money at the beginning of the offseason. And when they miss out on Manny Machado, it always felt like they were going to get one of the two. So now that Machado's off the table, well, now the pressure is really on to go spend some money. And I'm not talking about signing Andrew McCutchen.
They have no choice.
No, I'm talking about, well, let's pony up here and go get Bryce Harper. And to their credit, there were reports that they were in deep negotiations with Harper today in Las Vegas.
There's a reason it's taking so long.
Yeah.
They don't want to bid against themselves. I don't think they have a problem giving him $330 or whatever it is he wants. But they don't want to give him $330 if the next team wants to give him $240. So they're just going to sit here and wait this out. And I actually think the Padres are saying they're interested. We just said before off air, we don't think the Padres are going to line up and give him $340, whatever it is he's asking for. So the Phillies are probably just going to wait him out, make sure the fans know that we're being serious, we're being diligent, we're on him, but we don't want to just throw $350 at him and turn a huge contract when we really could maybe save a few. So obviously it makes sense. It makes business sense.
Yeah, and the Giants are an interesting team to look at here because they're at $164 million of total payroll right now, so they do have room to bring on Bryce Harper. It's just whether barely. But the organization does need to look at whether they want to make that commitment over that many years. And the Giants are generally a competitive organization that
they're always packed. It doesn't even matter who's on the team. Yeah, they're packed.
Yeah, and they try to remain competitive as an organization and win games. So it would be a fit for Bryce Harper to go to the Giants and be in San Francisco. It's a big market once again, and they'll make a lot of money off him being there. But it just feels like that the Phillies are the likely destination at this point for Harper.
They have to be. Yeah, so with that said, guys, we're going to wrap up for today. But believe me, when Bryce Harper signs, I'm sure we'll shred it apart. So hopefully we see you again next